Thank you, God, for the opportunity to make another video. Welcome back to the Money. It is your host, Elijah, back here in action. And in this video, we are discussing a very serious matter. I love investing, but if this concept in foundation is not set, your personal finances are not going to be maximized. Let's get into the video. The MoneyPot is a library of educational content created from a biblical perspective. The content provided is designed to improve viewers' knowledge of world economics and events, personal finance, cryptocurrency, and much more. The information provided on the MoneyPot channel is not considered financial advice. In this video, we are going to be talking about the importance of an emergency fund. A fund set aside for emergencies. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to be providing some tips on the best types of emergency fund accounts to set up. During a recession, during a period of inflation, it is vital to have your emergency fund set up because emergencies are going to be a lot more frequent. Companies are going to be laying off people. There's just going to be a lot more chaos going on in society, which means that the emergency fund needs to be prepared.
I'm broke, nigga, I'm broke.
So it's important to have an emergency fund set up to ensure that you are able to withstand not only say, a loss of income, but say maybe like a medical bill or like a car repair bill or some sort of life emergency that happens that is going to cost you, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever amount of money it costs. And it's considered an emergency that you can plan for prior to it happening. So I love talking about investing. Check out some of my past content if you have not already. I've really been talking a lot about investing and how we can prepare for this recession that we are in, and also how we can survive and thrive in these times. And guess what? If you've got your emergency fund set up with at least $1,000 in it, or 3 to 6 months of living expenses set up, kudos to you. Congratulations. This video may not be for you. Go check out some of my past content on investing and some of the, beneficial investment assets to have during this recession that we are in.
You like that? You like that?
And I'm going to get back to the video, but I really would appreciate your subscription here to the MoneyPot channel as I'm seeking to grow it. And I'm talking about topics on savings, investing, and really personal finance and financial literacy, and much more. Like this video if you're liking the video, but let's get back to the video. It's important to have this emergency fund set up because we never know when emergencies are going to come. And it is better to have money set aside for these emergencies than to go into credit card debt, which is typically at an interest rate that is not favorable for us consumers. We need to be mindful of this. We see here, Unusual Whales tweeted out from April to June. Americans open up 233 million new credit card accounts. This is serious, and we need to get our emergency funds together. You don't want more credit card debt, especially during a recession or during an inflationary period. You want to make sure you have this emergency fund set up so you don't have to go into more credit card debt, so that you don't have to climb out of credit card debt and be a slave to the lender. Now, many experts and analysts, they say that an emergency fund is made up of 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now, that may be a lot for some individuals. I suggest that you at least have $1,000 in an emergency fund, not in your own, savings account, but an emergency fund, one that you're not going to touch, one that you are not going to mess around with and, move from savings to checking every month. Emergency fund set specifically for emergencies. And I saw a few articles with these headlines. The personal savings rate in America just hit its lowest level since the Great Recession in 2008. Even as rates on savings accounts have risen. What is the personal savings rate? What is that? What does that mean? Basically, the personal savings rate is the income left over after people spend money and pay taxes. The personal savings rate is the percentage of their disposable income that people save. This rate is followed to learn about Americans' financial health and to predict consumer behavior and economic growth. Well, we see that we are in a period of decreased personal savings. We see here on Statista the personal savings rate from June of 2015 to June of 2022. In June of 2015, it was at 7.4%. 7.4%. Then we see in June of 2019, the personal savings rate was at 7.2%. 7.2. Okay. Now, in June of 2020, it was at 19.3%. You may be asking, why was it so high? Well, it was because we were in the pandemic and because of the stimulus checks that we received. So, of course, people are going to save more of that money. When you get extra money for just making less than $78,000, I think, or whatever, or whatever it was for a couple, you're going to put that money up and save it. Typically, most people. I invested mine. Then we see in June of 2021, last year, it was at 9.5%. Relatively healthy. So we're still probably dealing with the stimulus money, and we're not really feeling the effects of all these extra dollar bills in circulation. The consumer price index wasn't as high as it was, and we weren't really experiencing these higher prices. And then boom, June of 2022, we're at 5.1%. We are in the beginning parts of this recession, and we're seeing prices rise. In June, we saw crazy high gas prices, and we saw the cost of goods going up. I really believe that the rest of this year, we're going to see that personal savings rate continue to decline, especially as we get here into the winter months. With the winter months, we see rising energy costs, and we see, we may not see consumer spending rise, but people are still going to want to have an okay Christmas time. It's going to be interesting quarter 3 and 4, especially when the data comes out. All right, so now it's important for us to get this emergency fund set up, but how do we set it up? Let's talk about that. We see that now banks are starting to provide higher interest rates on savings accounts. We see here, and this article is in the description below. Interest rates are rising, and this is translating into better returns on savings accounts if you know where to look. We see the biggest banks are flush with deposits and are going to be very slow to boost payouts. So the big banks, the Chase, the PNC, the Wells Fargo, they're not going to be giving high interest rates for these savings accounts. But online banks and smaller local banks and credit unions are already paying better returns and are raising rates and are poised to do so. Why would a bank give out better interest rates for these savings accounts? Because they need to increase the amount of money that is deposited into their bank. Banks make money by loaning out money. So they need to have higher, deposits coming in. That's why they're boosting the interest rates on their savings accounts. So I hope that you were able to find this video informational, beneficial in realizing that personal finance is it's a broad term, but there are different areas, different levels that we need to be mindful of and have in place to make sure that we are not taking backward steps in our financial journey. And having an emergency fund set up is an extremely foundational piece to our financial journeys and being financially literate. So if you don't have an emergency fund set up, I encourage you to get one set up and get to it. Be disciplined and strive to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses, because you never know what's going to happen, especially in these unprecedented times and with the economy that we are in. Hope that you were able to find it beneficial, though. And listen, I'm going to get back to my content on investing, but I just felt the need to talk about savings We need to have our savings together. Like, dislike, share, subscribe. Do what you do, but I appreciate you. Until next video, stay blessed, stay healthy, stay prayed up. Peace.
Are you okay?